present and various staff members and such. So items of business include the resolution 3100.
That'll be Doug.
That'll be Doug.
I'm right here.
Doug's over there. He's in
You're actually here.
IRL.
Today. This is just an amendment to a professional services agreement we have with Bruce Dees. We had an initial agreement with them that was signed back in 2021 for $109,140. That was to complete the bid documents and give us support for construction services since they were the design part of the main design team. So there are certain things that when questions come up that they need to answer because they are we anticipate, as it says right here, you're going to hear this repeat and the next one as well. This late spring weather and lack of efficiency by the contractor and other unexpected issues during construction has caused additional delays that the consultant. So this consultant has to give them additional support. At the moment, the schedule for completion of the project, the contractor shows it at the end of January, and Boostie's contract runs out after November. So we think that we really only need their support services for the design, during the construction period for a couple more months. Put together, just extending the same amount that they've been billing us for the last several months. $430. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the same thing pertains to parametrics too, is that why are we paying these bills? I mean, it says right there because of lack of efficiency on the contractor, unexpected issues during construction. That's not our problem. I mean, and then usually wet, dry weather pertains to northwest ending you're doing. I mean, he left his equipment there. He should know that's a wet time of year to plan it. Yes. Why are we paying? Both these bills should go back to him.
Well, that is a legal question, and I'm going to defer to if we had a legal person here. I actually totally agree with you 100%. That could be a damages or the point right now where we're at is that we're trying to complete a project with the contract that we have with the general contractor to project completed. Doing so, we support services from parametrics and from Bruce D get to that point. Who pays those bills really would be a separate issue. If we were to immediately show these costs and throw them on the general contractor, we'd probably go into a standstill, and we'd have a project that's not only incomplete, but we'd probably be in some kind of it. So, but I agree with you, and this Matt here, who's with parametrics, for answering additional questions you have, he's going to probably. He's probably going to say the same thing.
Not as I was talking, that was the problem. It seems like the contractor, is that their fault, or what do you think?
There's a contract between the city and the contractor, and there's language in there that tells you what costs we can pass on and not. There's probably going to be an argument in what they're entitled to,
right?
With regards to time. And I think they feel that they should get some additional compensation recorded in the contract. And then there's also costs that the city could pass along to the contractor. But I think it's a gray area in the contract that, it's easier said than done, and being able to actually hold them accountable to that.
That's what I was wondering what the contract said.
Yeah, why is that a gray point? A gray area, right? I mean, how do we hold contractors liable when this happens?
Well, I mean, all you can do is refer to the contract. They'll have an interpretation of it. We'll have an interpretation of it. Hopefully, those two things align. They often don't.
Who wrote the contract?
It's our,
It's a city
standard contract
it's
right
a
now?
standard,
It's city
basic-
contract. Yeah.
yeah, it's a standard boilerplate contract that.
And we need to fix it, right? Because we need to put teeth in these contracts so these guys don't do this to us. Talking like $130,000 when we're done,
Oh, more
because
than
it
that.
rains in Washington.
So so we did have the wettest spring on record in early summer, right? This is a site, the contractor could have either chose to import and export material or balance the site. Did receive a couple bids. I don't know for sure, but my assumption is the one that didn't win probably assumed it. The one that won it chose to balance the site, which means we're going to take material from one side and we're going to push it to the other. It's glacial till. They tried to do that activity. It didn't work. It was too wet. Obviously, we had to suspend the project because it just absolutely wasn't going to be possible. And we also had to grant rain days. That was unanticipated. I think we maybe could have assumed that it would have been a challenge to do the work that we started in February. But, there was some urgency with the funding. So it's like, let's give this a shot and see if it works. We early on realized it's not. Urged the contractor to find other things to do besides push dirt around, the storm and other things. But at some point, it's up to them to actually deliver and do the work. So that kind of pushed our timeline back. Didn't mean there wasn't work to do, but we weren't as efficient as we needed to be. And it wasn't probably until early July that the contractor got themselves going a little bit. They were able to move material around, get it compacted. And then from that point forward, I would say the contractors delayed themselves through lack of workforce, rework, quality issues. Just they bit off a lot more than they can chew. This is a more sophisticated project than I think this contractor is typically used to. They do fields, so I think what they've become accustomed to is it's a high school and they got a flat field, it's grass, they're gonna put a field turf there, right? This was way beyond that, and they've struggled, and I don't think they've understood kind of the highest level of management that this type of project requires, which, we have a lot of subs, you got to be able to manage them, make sure that they're efficient, they're doing quality work, they're lined out, prepared. You got to manage your own crews. You got, there's a lot of things this contractor just hasn't been able to do. And so there's a lot of hand holding and such. And us, we're now up against it. We're trying to build a field that should be built in the summer in the middle of the winter. We have some
Supposed to be done by October.
Absolutely. I mean, I have concerns.
Yeah.
The schedule right now shows the end of January, and I have very little confidence, especially considering the weather that we have, that it's actually going to.
Right. This is the
Right,
worst time.
Yeah.
to further feed your information on status of this project is that this, as we stated, that it's supposed to finish the end of January. As Matt just mentioned, that we are not just fiercely concerned. Their schedule is showing things that are now been bumped back that are going to scheduled to be done in December, when we know December is terrible weather. And once certain things get bumped back, other things get bumped back, and then pretty soon you can't do anything until springtime again. When the weather calms down, and we're concerned about that. Which brings a whole bunch of other issues. We got a grant that at the moment says that the project needs to be completed at March 31st. We have World Series Little League team that's really interested in seeing this field get done, and we're really concerned.
Well, you have asphalt problems come up too, because I know they don't have the plants running all the time.
Absolutely.
This time of year, only in the day.
So we're concerned. We have requested and are meeting with the owner Friday. Go over these issues. We'll kind of see how they're going to respond. Let them know our issues and let them know that they've not only their back is against the wall, they pushed us against the wall. And so that is where we're at. I mean, it's not a pretty picture. We got but one of my priorities is to try to get this project done.
Right.
This project, I mean, this is going to do us absolutely no good if it suddenly goes into a stall mode with an open contract and we're in some kind of litigation with the site just sit there the way it is. We don't want that. We want to try to get this project done. And work with the contractor the best we can, with the understanding that, they have responsibilities. Get to the end. And then if there's unresolved issues, if there's a question whether certain bills should be invoiced to them, we can address that as well. Or and
if this gets to liquidated damages, the city will stack up their impacts, right? And that's like, okay, we had to pay this consultant, or this consultant lost out on the World Series Little League team revenue that we could have had. Potentially have to grant money at risk, right? There's a lot of things the city will be able to stack up to justify the liquidated damages. And I would say this is a contract that does have really good liquidated damages. It's a real hammer. It always drives me nuts when you get $200 a day for liquidated damages. Really, there's no hammer there. In this case, I forget exactly what the formula is, but it's got teeth.
Yeah.
But it's easier to say that you're going after liquidated damages than hit them.
So have we written a letter to say we're invoking liquidated damages?
No, we're not there yet. But we're at the first step. The meeting come Friday is to owner and the project manager of that contractor is, let them know where we are, because we've been trying to communicate through the project manager and just feel like they're not grasping the severity of this issue, and so that's why we're not having.
Is it premature for us to be kind of considering action before your meeting?
Yes.
Maybe you'll know a lot more after you've had the meeting.
Yes. When you say action, what do you mean by action?
Well, for us to be, approving extra time or something like that, or something. I don't know what your conversation with your owner is going to be. And they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we understand that we kind of drug this out a little bit more. Go ahead and just bill us for this kind of stuff." Because I don't know when we paid them for what part of the projects, right? Do they have interim payments yet on these projects?
A lump sum contract says they get paid a percentage of their completion, right? If they're 80% complete, they get paid.
And we have a retained as well.
Sure, yeah.
5%.
All of those monies.
You don't want to go. So right now, we've indicated verbally to the contractor that the city will consider liquidated damages if they don't complete this on time. So that message has been relayed. But now isn't probably the time to try to bring additional, costs to the table. Right? We have to work within the contract. When we get to liquidated damages, that's when those other harms that the city is incurring would be tabulated to support that. But right now, that's probably not. It's what are you going to do to cure your schedule and get this project done on time?
Sure.
And this is what the contract says you need to do.
Yeah.
Right now,
without there's prepositional phrase in there, without punishing the taxpayer.
Absolutely.
What's the D's function in that? Is just to answer the.
They are the design. They design
the engineer record.
The engineer record. So their effort, and this contract.
But are they getting a lot of questions from the contractor?
Oh yeah, they have been very. I mean, they were out there just yesterday. there's a lot of questions.
And you guys, and because you have the design and everything, you know, you would think that with our staff, engineers would be able to answer it.
It's important for the engineer to be able to, so just because you put something in a specification or on a plan, it's not always 100% clear. Things can be I know,
Sure, I know,
interpreted
right?
differently. So,
Like, it's not in black and white, even though.
yeah,
Well, that,
but it's important
black
for
and
the
white's for
engineer.
the attorneys.
The engineer
design
of
is
record
for the
should
engineer.
be able to answer, right? You know, and so there's RFIs that are sent all the time.
They
You wanna
are
do
the
this or
engineer
that.
of record. I'm not the engineer.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you guys could make that call. You know, why do we
Some
have to
things that can
involve
make calls that
these?
would
Because
very
all the
standard.
RFIs come the first or
Well,
whatever.
that goes to the second.
Mr. Parametrics.
So let me give you an example because this is kind of what's
We've done
happened
this
this
before.
week.
This is kind of like Groundhog.
There's a wall footing, right? And there's a
Yeah.
drain pipe behind the wall footing. And our detail shows it 12 inches horizontally and 6 inches vertically from the wall.
Okay.
The contractor decided to install it and lay it up against the back. It's not buried. We caught it. Hey, but it cost some additional time, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, Bruce Dees, we need, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Is that okay? They might go, oh, yeah, that's good enough. Or they might say, you know what, move it 12 inches to 6 inches is less important, which saves our contractor time, which is important right now. Right? So a quick question like that, the engineer can say, hey, yeah, it needs to be the 12 inches. We don't need to worry about the 6 inches. But there's little things with the
Yeah.
rebar, or, you know, just intricacies with the design.
Can't read the plans pretty well, can they?
Well, the
Something like
plans
that
don't
seems
show
pretty
every,
simple.
the plans really don't
Yeah.
show everything. Try to get them to show as much as possible.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little details that maybe in the specs or maybe in plans or may not be. And because every little thing, or like whether the concrete for the poles, for the backstop poles, whether they're, as that concrete pour, the whole, should have been vibrating, if you understand. Procedure that should have followed. Okay, they didn't follow it. Do we make them tear it down?
Right.
Again, you contact the engineer record. You show that this is supposed to be done this way.
Yeah, I agree
If
with that.
they-
I'm
if
just
they
trying to
don't-
figure out the nuance in that because we basically have 3 staff engineers. Both and Andrew,
Engineers? I'm an engineer.
you 4 now or whoever, right? You know, a lot of experts sitting around.
It's
right?
been almost 15 years since I did any design
Right.
work, but
You know, that kind of, and then one that we're going to
It's like
hire or
that,
something. Because they're still trying to fill John Wood.
yes.
We're not, I'm answering those questions.
I think we are sometimes.
Sometimes
I'm
we
sure
are,
you
but
do.
it's been-
Right? Yeah, it's kind of obvious. It's like, yeah.
It's been like that ever since I've been here. We always have certain questions that go to the
Sure.
ball field, even just laying pipe in the ground, building a pump station. There's certain things, nuances that if it's my project, even though I'm an engineer, I'm going to
Sure.
say that's not my expertise.
I know, right.
I'm not a structural
Right.
engineer. I'm not there's some things I can feel very comfortable at answering, saying, even though I'm not the engineer of record, I have enough expertise behind me. But there are other things that I am not. I mean,
That sounds good.
would you
Fair enough.
want me to answer
I know,
a
right?
question on
Yeah.
on how to wire up a PLC?
Exactly, right. Yeah.
So if we go and
You
pay,
might be able to take a swag at it, but that's about it, right?
if we go and pay these bills, I'm sure we have to do the project done. Details you're talking about, are those notated for us the contract, so this pipe was in the right spot? It costs us more consultant time to do this. I mean, are there facts for us to use to go?
They should be in daily reports, right? They should be
We do.
generating
I
a
don't know.
daily report to.
Yeah. I mean, I
To
brought
the
it up with
project
you, but I won't
and-
bore you with it. But yeah, no, we're
Oh, you can bore me.
we are.
That's what's at that link I sent you too. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it. I was
Okay.
hoping to get a link so I could look for footage.
Hundreds
I
of
didn't see
some
one.
odd
We're
daily
catching
reports.
things on a daily basis. That's one of the challenges right now is the sub consultants that this contractor has they're just not good. But these are these are the daily reports. So we have, this is this summary of the work, weather, subcontractors on site. This was the first day, so it's not much. But then we have photos, and if there's some question, it's noted. But we document this. If there's things,
Can I see that?
absolutely.
One thing the government does is
What?
like read.
He works for Bonney, he works for government stuff.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, so
It's
he's,
like page after page, and note after note after, there's
he's
a
in a very
grasshopper
confidential
on
section, so you.
I got all fun.
He's got no, if you get enough three ring, you got.
Yeah. So so just yesterday when we were out there, they got their subgrade totally completed. It's done. They just
Where the ball field.
where the ball field is, and then they run heavy equipment on it. They're running dump trucks and they're running concrete trucks, and it just rained.
Mhm.
And so they're tearing it all up. And it's not easy to fix them, right? And they're like, well, this is not my problem. What are you gonna pay a city to fix it? Absolutely not. But I mean, they want to be compensated for that, and it's aggravating. But as we're sitting there, we look, and they have the soccer screen posts that are supposed to be on the center of the perimeter curve for the field turf, and they're not. So it's like a 10-inch curb or 12-inch curb, and they got 4-inch posts in the middle of it. Well, instead of centering it on the pole, they centered it on the outside. They pull the center of the curb, the outside of the pole are here. So now we only have 2 inches of clear on the concrete. Luckily, Bruce Dees was there, and he's like, okay, that's okay. We'll just taper the curb out, and we'll create a 16-inch wide curb. So we were able to quickly answer that or get that fixed. But those are the kind of issues, right? That contractors spending all this time, and he's not paying attention to the sub. The sub pours these posts in. They're all straight. They look good. But now we have to modify the curb. It's an easy fix, but it could have been a big deal. But
Right.
we are constantly checking and catching the subs in Premiere. And
You went there, it'd be a disaster.
it's like, do you guys have a set of plans? Do you read the specs? It feels sometimes like we're managing and doing the work for them.
Yeah, I know.
Which
Exhausting, yeah.
we're trying, but I'm afraid that I'm going to not see something.
Well, and it's
We brought our new city attorney.
not yet. No, we've not. We've not. We certainly can sit down and brief her. I think Matt just illustrated a good point, which is, ultimately to complete the job, that's up to the contractor. They are the contractor. They select the means and methods to get to the finish line, right? Certainly,
Special words.
yeah. In other words, they get to choose how to get there.
Right.
As long as they're staying within what our standards call for, what the plans are calling for, then everything should work as it's supposed to. But right now, I mean, Dan's exactly right. We do have engineers on staff. None of them have the bandwidth to be out on a project day after day, which is why we need these folks. If they weren't out here, I guarantee we'd be talking about a lot more money that would be at risk than a couple of contract amendments. And I don't think it can be overstated that, timing is critical. We've got this RCO grant that if we can't negotiate to get more time on, then we're going to owe them back $350,000. And that'll be in addition to this. So, at some point, what's that old saying, cut off your nose to spite your face, that kind of thing. It's at this point now more than ever that we have them on site working for us, because now things are really getting critical. We have to watch every step, because if we do want to come back and pursue some kind of legal challenge, we're going to absolutely need the documentation.
Well, that's why I
that
was
they're
asking
collecting
what
for us.
documentation we have, so we can say this is what they didn't do, and this is what cost time for.
I remember the last time we were in any kind of litigation. I need.
Oh, right. Was that
No.
Veterans Memorial or
Yeah.
down the hill?
Their name just slipped my mind. Slip.
Sewer line down the hill.
Well, when it-
One of the things that made that litigation a little more difficult on our end, our local inspector, in-house inspector, not out there as much as and keeping his daily reports. Who would have thought we would have needed that? But it was a simple project.
That's a simple
But-
project.
But, and that's why, I mean, I personally am so happy that we have, he's not just an inspector out there, he's what I would call a resident engineer. Jesse, he's an engineer. He's out there every day that they're working, doing his daily reports and, keeping track. And he does exceptional well. Very, very good at details.
Well, I'm just,
And
I
it keeps us.
John and I have the
keeps us
same
in-
feeling Dan does too about we want the citizens to pay for this. You know, these guys got to get paid. Let's get the friggin' job done.
18.
But I got to have
18.
enough
Oh,
meat
yeah,
to be
you
able to go
skipped
back
all
to
this stuff.
our attorney and say, this is wrong.
And here's the hard part too, Tom, for us at the staff level is that for me, this budget cycle, I requested to fill 8 different positions in public service. I don't believe any of those other than the custodians made it to you to see. But what we're hearing, the message we're hearing is that we are to be contracting out a lot of this type of work. This is going to happen on some projects when we contract stuff out. There will be need to amend the contracts in order to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could potentially staff up more appropriately and bear some of these costs, but we're still not going to be able to bear all of it.
Well, it's
So-
just like going back to pipe over here on 410, going down the
Yeah.
hill. We wouldn't have been there all the time to
Right.
watch what they did,
Right.
even though his staff would have been there. They had overseen that project and saw it before it got out of control like it did.
I guess I just throw that out there as a cautionary thing because Kelly, I think that we've all had enough discussions. I agree with you completely about this, and we don't relish having to come back here and ask for more money.
I
But-
didn't think you.
I was like, yeah, let's do that.
But what's even worse than asking for more money is giving the citizens an income, and we owe it to them to get that project done, and then we can beat on the contractor.
Well, this parking lot has been such a big deal too, just not only the ball field, but the parking lot, because what we did, no place for the boats to park and stuff. We trying to get this kind of worked out.
Yeah, I'm a resident, so
Okay.
this is one of those projects that John is asking for me on. Hey, Tom.
Well, and I reluctantly voted for it. I voted for it no a long time. I just
Yeah.
wish I had them now.
This project means a lot to me because great.
So
I really want this to work out for the city.
Yeah, so the thing that concerns me about this, especially right now, is what you already said, which is we're in winter,
Yep.
right? I mean, we're in fall and winter will be here.
Next week.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
the likelihood of them finishing, we're gonna, okay, money now, and then they're gonna come back for more money.
Who?
Well, they
Why?
didn't, we did, because.
Well,
the
they're not gonna
schedule-
finish on time.
The contractor
Yeah.
or parametrics?
The
and-
contractor's
yeah.
not gonna finish on time, so then we're gonna be back here
So
giving parametrics more money because the contractor didn't finish on time.
the amount.
And I'm looking at this like, how do you stop it? You know, how you stop it? You say no.
Yeah, no, the amendment that parametrics has in is not, if they finish at the end of January, it's more what we have will take us through the end of March
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that, but that was,
at a higher
That's
level.
good.
yeah. They
I thought like
actually,
year to date
we-
so far. That's not use.
No one else can do it.
Yeah.
No one was,
But-
Gotta go
Matt
through
and
us
I
first,
were-
you know.
yeah, when Matt and I were talking about what this was gonna, what we would need from, since the contract budget is. And what we need from, wanted to make sure we did have to come back to you. We wanted to make sure there was some, even if they finish February, that there's gonna be some opposition and cost argument, we still need parametrics to support us in the sense that they are the record keeper. As part of their contract, they're the record keepers. They're doing all the record keeping for us, not just the on-site actions and project management. They're doing the record keeping. Because at the time that this project came out, in, January, in the 1st of January, the only person we had for record keeping was Maryland. Oh, she's in South Dakota. And thankfully, she's still with us in an off-site way. But she was already overloaded with trying to deal with all the other contracts. And so we needed someone to support the record keeping. That's part of their project. I'm jumping into the next, but that's part of their contract services that they're providing is record keeping. And if we go into any kind of litigation or anything after that, we're gonna need some help in that record keeping.
So here's kind of the way I see it, just to be honest and transparent, right? So the way I see it is you're gonna have a meeting with the company owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who, in my brain, is responsible for helping us get done, right? I didn't see this as a parametrics problem or a Bruce D's problem. I saw this as project's not done. So now we're stuck paying more money to the contractors, which I think that's where we're at, and I think that's okay. But how do we get to done? And we can give you a tool. You can go to the owner and say, my community development committee doesn't want to give us any more money. How are you going to help me get this done? You need a negotiating chip, right? And the best chip we can give you is you can say, we're not getting any more money.
Well, I'm not.
That usually works pretty good when my boss comes to me and says, you're out of money, you better finish.
But see, the contractor, I think, is the one that could, they could care less whether the inspector shows.
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
They're just all they're on the hook for. Is
that's actually good
completing
for them, right? Like,
Yeah.
completing
No
the
inspection.
project
Substitute
within the
teacher.
contract time, and whether it's to the quality that money, that's going to. They're going to say, "Paul went in just as per plan. It's all good." And you know how many times I've heard that?
We've been there and done that.
There's a reason there.
And then you make them dig it up, and they're like, "That's not per plan. That's not per our standard."
So does the contractor think he's going to get more money?
Yes.
Yes.
So the contractors asked for 37 additional days,
That's that negotiation.
and they've asked for $95,000 in additional time. Deal, I don't think they can prove it, they haven't yet, that the material on site would not meet the geotech report, and thus it took additional effort to farm it to be able to compact it. That's our argument. There was also a layer of bark throughout that site that they had to remove, and it held moisture, so they felt that pushed the moisture content up, which caused some additional effort. I've done an as-built of their baseline schedule versus their actual effort, compared the two, and it doesn't prove that. But right now, the negotiating chips that the city has is liquidated damages and holding them accountable to the timeline, right? So it's like, the way, hopefully we come together on Friday. We need to have an understanding of different perspectives and such. I believe that the city's best approach at this point would be to hold the line on the amount of time we have, give them a little bit more time, maybe 5 days. I think they're entitled to 3.5 additional days. We give them 5, maybe even give them 10, right? As long as there's no additional cost tied to that. The $95,000 needs to go away, right? Give you some additional time, so that gives them, that liquidated damage hammer that's over their head right now. They'll be less concerned about that, and they'll go to work.
One of those things that you were talking about right now, our grant, our $350,000 grant, says that the project will be completed. It's the second time, we've already asked for 2 extensions. That grant.
And that's the only reason I voted yes, by the way.
Well, me too.
And,
Right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Only reason
and
I
if we
didn't want
lose
to
that
lose it.
grant,
I thought you did that for me.
I did do it for
because the
you.
project isn't completed, that's a definite, that's a hard play litigation item right there.
Yeah.
Whether we pass, approve these contracts or not, they already have that. And we're not even talking about the revenue that is ball field is. Already, we know that who's that ball field because it's complete.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that grant is, now I have put out a request to find out whether they would consider, this is state, whether they would consider another extension. Oh, but I haven't heard back yet.
Gotta ask.
So I have to ask.
The project's being worked on, fine. We're not
Yeah.
pulling our fingers, let's try and get done.
If for some reason they decided that I would absolutely, it is painful. I would advise the city to consider that, even though it'd mean losing. It would be worth consideration because it's a lot easier to build this thing next August, July. I would hate for it to have to go there, but I really believe if we could get that extension, I don't think we will, but if we could, one of the best things you could probably do is extend the project. Don't pay parametrics, don't pay Bruce D's, pay the contractor until you got a month or 2 to just get her done, right? But I don't think it's something to worry about yet because
What kind of percentage are we right now?
complete.
Yeah.
That's a good question because there's a statement of working days that says we have yeah. We have 168 working days on the contract and 45 left. But
Holidays. What's
that we're not that far. We're not that complete. We're less than that.
Are we less than that?
Yeah, because I would say the contractor is probably 40 working days, which is 2 months behind schedule.
Is it about 50% then?
Maybe let's say 60
We have paid,
Okay, 60.
instead of 70.
How do we help them?
But we got parametrics
They've asked for like premium pay to work weekends, right? We have to pay time and a half. You pick up the difference.
Well, they do work on Saturdays, I think.
Well,
So
so
some of their subs. do, I
the
should
working
say.
days are Monday through Friday. If they choose to work Saturday, that's a day they don't get charged, but they have to pay premium pay, so they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, if you ask how can we help them, money's going to help them, right? This is a contractor that's mismanaged it, way behind schedule, and for them to catch up, they're going to have to spend money they don't have. Their profit's gone. They're now in the red. This is a bad thing, for all parties involved. Is when a contractor loses money, that's never a good scenario because it puts them in a tough spot. They might have to spend $100,000 to get themselves out of the hole, and
we paid 48%.
I don't know if they will.
Yay.
So do we pay these 2 bills now then?
Well, just
Oh,
what
yeah.
we're doing is authorizing.
Yeah, you're authorizing the expenditure, and then they'll invoice us for their effort.
And I can say this one other thing. Parametrics always been very good to us, only billing us for time they actually
We use them for everything we can. All the
There's
time.
been too many times that they've left money on the table in their own contracts with us. That's because they're honest.
Yeah, this isn't about parametrics or
Yeah, I
routine,
know.
right? It's about,
The contract.
yeah, it's about finishing on time, or the on time part's gone, right? And project management says if you're late, you're over budget. Or late, over budget.
I wish I had a better answer. I really do.
So do we authorize both these?
I don't see any choice really in my mind. I don't know what else you. What words you know?
Yeah, I think another path. But the other path, just let it just sit there, right? And and just go, oops, this contractor took all your money,
Right.
right?
But
and
that
we're
would be
taking them to-
that
and
would
we're
be
taking them to court, right? Got a bond, right?
I don't think he's didn't.
Can't stop them from working if we
Right.
don't pay, if we don't have.
They're going to do
Because
all
we
this
don't have
work
people
that's
that-
going to.
Make a court.
We have to.
Poker, right?
When I met with Kathleen on the Public Services Center and we thought maybe we were going this direction, she cautioned me about going this direction because she felt like any gains we'd have in going the legal route would be erased by the legal bill to do it. And I understand where you're coming from. I totally do. I just don't know that that's a card we want to play, at least at this time.
Well, when is the time we play that card? I mean, from representing the citizens, the taxpayers, right? Tax dollars.
Yeah.
When do we go? No, we've held these guys accountable. They haven't just run us over with. I literally had a constituent saying, "You mean you're not done because it rained in the spring?"
So have them
I'm
call
sorry.
us.
I believe me. That's
So-
what I said. I said, that's what I'm told, but I'm just standing there like,
Yeah.
yes, sir,
Sure.
right? And they're like,
I hear you. I think the decision point, one decision point anyways,
so
is
don't ever say that. Don't say it rained in the spring. Say the soil conditions were overwhelmed because of multiple, factors, including, unanticipated material.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I heard.
So to answer,
Exactly.
so to answer your question, I think one of those trigger points is when they're out of working days.
Yeah.
That's my initial thought anyways. I don't, decision points, when we decide what route we're going to go. And I think to me, obviously I'm not down and managing this on a day-to-day basis, but certainly when we're getting to the point where their working days are nearly fully expired, I think there's one decision point.
That we'll have more better answers.
Yeah.
Just wait till our next meeting before the end of the year.
Right now, it's on for the 22nd.
I saw that. Yeah.
And given the time of year, I think we'd prefer to keep the meetings canceled in December or
Right.
January.
You'll be in the
Right.
next year if we don't do it this time. You're in.
But yeah, and again, to me, it's
Yeah, I get it.
work to be done that's not being. Because I've been around long enough to see projects, especially the ground. The guys come back 5 years later and they're like, "Man, who the heck put that in the ground? That is not And we end up as taxpayers paying a very large bill at that point to fix something that if we would have spent this.
This isn't.
Over the
I mean, it's
100,000?
1/3 of the grant. We're spending it
but it's
1/3
a-
of the grant amount.
It's
So
a
now
$4 million field.
I know. But we
Look at the big picture.
Look at the big picture, the 10,000-foot view.
Okay.
Yeah, I approved this.
On-call,
Consent agenda.
on-call,
We'll
no,
move forward.
Full council.
full council.
Council.
Okay.
And then these guys will be able to fill in do their dance.
Yeah, by then you will have had your Friday meeting.
Yeah.
Can help us.
Council
Okay.
for both of
The whole council for both
Okay.
of them.
Both of them.
We only got like
Please.
10, 15 minutes left. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with it.
Awesome
Your
work
na-
out
my,
there.
my
Appreciate
neighbor
it.
works for you.
Yeah.
He's over on Lake Bonney. He's on 183rd. No,
Who's that?
I can't remember his name.
Mary Ann Zukowski?
No,
Right.
no. Her husband's a contractor.
There's a lot of.
I thought she worked for paramedics. She told me
It's possible.
she's in all kinds of stuff for office or
We still have a
the
lot
city.
to cover, Sean.
Huh?
Do,
We still have a lot
Do you
to
want
cover
me
in
to-
10 minutes.
hang out, or are you good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Unless you
thanks,
want to know
Matt.
about Snap-on tools.
Thank you, guys.
stuff
Thank
like
you.
Gals.
Good job.
that. Yeah, definitely great.
I was ready to, that's why I brought in my.
That's good. We appreciate that. It's always good
I
to
haven't
have
looked for a year.
more information is better. So the next item of business. And
Yes.
equipment.
Yes. So last time I came forward with anything for the Public Services Center, I mentioned that there were remaining dollars in that budget and these were funds dedicated for the Public Services Center project and outfitting the buildings. We actually had more remaining than I believed we would have at that time, which was a great thing. We actually currently have a balance of approximately $275,000. One of the items identified initially in our soft cost projection for this project was being able to adequately outfit the mechanics. We got the two with hand tools, various power tools that are either failing or have failed. You all already approved the lift for the 23-24 budget. So this purchase here, you'll see quotes from multiple vendors. The purchase is totaling $73,258.66. And this is for an array of different items to support the mechanics activities in Building B, which is our mechanics shop at the Public Services. These were all purchased, or the quotes were all received off of vendors who are on the various state contracts. So we got excellent pricing on it. And we'd like your authorization to continue to move this forward to get the purchase done. Again, this isn't impacting general fund or anything like that. This is all from dollars that have already been dedicated.
Spend it.
Yes.
Money we have available. Get your checkbook out.
Where did the money we just approved go?
That's parks.
Parks.
Yeah, so, because we're negative on that.
Yeah, I think it was.
The
I'm
money-
okay,
like
I'm
The money
okay with
can't.
this.
that. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm okay with this.
I got Kelly.
Are you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you,
that's
Dan. All right.
Why do we have to see it or whatever?
I know.
Because
I know. I was thinking you'd mention that.
Yeah.
My understanding is that once we get to a certain threshold, I got to bring all these forward, and it's
That's-
$10,000.
20.
It's very low.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully the employees understand that we're willing to outfit them with good
Yeah.
tools, so, people know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, and they do appreciate that.
We okay with consent?
I don't own a single Snap-on.
No?
No, I've always wanted to buy.
Do you realize that Harbor Freight produces a whole set of 10 millimeter, only 10 millimeter sockets? Nobody's ever been able to purchase them and get them home.
You want a consent agenda?
Awesome.
Really good.
Thank you.
If you know, you know. Approval of meeting,
I had one correction, and Debbie has taken care of it.
drinking water revolving fund. Do we have anybody on that?
Yeah, that'd be me, and really this can probably be pretty quick at this point. What I'm initially looking for is for your support to move forward with completing an application for construction dollars from the state revolving fund for drinking water. I think we'll be hearing more tonight about options as it pertains to rates and how we control potential increases.
Sure we will.
Acquiring some debt in order to accomplish our goals in the utility is one of those ways. So This has a deadline of November 30th.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's a little tighter than I would like, but I've already met with our consultant who's willing to take this on as a free expense to help us out. I don't know if Harley's listening, but if you are, Harley, free. And so they're able to help us. I've been talking with Sherry a little bit. Finance will be able to help us as well. But I think we can successfully get there. The only thing that I will need, part of the application package, is for this to be in some way added to the council agenda next week where the full council is going. Yeah, go ahead. I have to have meeting
That'll
minutes.
Be fun. I'll be there. Are you going to be there?
No, I'll be there.
What's the kind of terms of the loan?
20-year loan. I believe right now they're quoting 2.25%.
Oh, okay. So it's basically a state-run program, huh?
Yeah.
Do they normally? Obviously, that's extraordinarily low for.
Yeah, it's usually lower.
And we have one more topic, don't we?
Oh, okay. Go ahead then.
Is it? I didn't see it on my. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have.
At the very bottom.
So
Rib
the
on the
drinking
page.
water thing, I think we can move it forward. The council will be very interested in. I'm sure because there are some council members oddly opposed to some debt establishment.
John, would
We'll
that
have
just
better
be a
guidance
discussion
after tonight.
item?
Wait, you're gonna need,
What
you're
was that,
looking
Jerry?
for authorization to apply.
I need council level authorization. They said it can be documented in meeting minutes to go in with the application.
They
So
know the council has been talking.
that they
That
exactly
we have authorization.
doesn't
So that's-
require a
it's
formal
always the
resolution or
one.
anything. They just want to see in the meeting. Yeah, could put something like
just
that together.
authorizing
Authorize.
the application
Apply for
order.
Okay.
Because we'd still have to, if we did get granted,
Yeah.
And I think it's partly because they only have so much money.
Yeah.
So they want to make.
It actually won.
Why are we approving this water rates right now? Why is that before us tonight?
so it's not what's before you tonight. Guess we're done with that. We'll move forward with.
Yep.
Right after
Thank
this
you.
next week. What I want to do is just make sure you are all aware that in the current code, water rates are scheduled to go up 8.5% on January 1st. Sewer rates are tied to CPI, which based on the October numbers. Stormwater, the monthly fee is $14 a month. That hasn't changed since. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that these are the scheduled rate increases if you don't make a change before the end of the year. So depending on how you feel or what you hear tonight from FCSG Group, we may want to come back at our December. You want to make changes. Right now, these are what are programmed in your code.
Okay.
Thought we had suspended this.
We had suspended water for 2022.
Okay, all right.
By ordinance 1664 there that's on there, which is scheduled to be in effect on January 2022, so it shall not take effect.
So this is gonna come back to us again then?
Or we can have it
Not unless
on,
you wanted to.
Yeah.
No, no. We stop it.
Right.
We won't see this unless we stop it.
so we could at your next CDC meeting. Oh, great.
I only have one
I
more
mean, we
left.
could just move it forward to council. Consensus on what you want to do.
Have consensus.
I mean,
Until we get through that.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we ought to see what it tonight looks like and what they're recommending and everybody's gonna.
So, but without further council action, this is what's on the books as of today.
That's what's in your.
Thanks.
All right?
You always full of good news for us.
Oh, come on.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Bye, Jack.
How did he get away with nothing today?
You just got to listen.
Just